It's Good Friday, April the 3rd, 2026. Good morning. There's a lot of good to go around this morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief Friday on Channels Television. I'm Kayode Okikelu, and I must say I'm good. Nicola.
Yes, indeed, and I'm pretty good myself. Good Friday is a precursor to a lot of great things. And so, welcome to your perfect morning starter. It's the Morning Brief on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
So what is a Good Friday, in case you're wondering? Well, it's not just a day. It's not just the naming of a day because people want to name a day and make it sound good. Well, Christians all over the world mark today as a day that, commemorates something that was meant for evil but turned around eventually for good. This day symbolizes the day that Jesus Christ was crucified. It was a dark day, I must say. But looking back at that day, Christians have come to believe with empirical evidence that, you know what, it's not so bad because it ended up being good. It ended up being great. That crucifixion culminated in the resurrection of Jesus Christ, which is at the heart of the believer's faith, the Christian's faith all over the world. And I mean, we cannot talk about the lessons enough. The fact that every problem really is a solution waiting to happen. Every dark period really is an opportunity for light to shine. Every period of sorrow is an opportunity for joy to come forth. So when I say I'm good, I'm hoping to infect you with that goodness this morning as we celebrate Good Friday with Christians all over the world. So welcome to Good Friday, Bukola.
Yes, indeed, and who knows whether, that ultimate sacrifice that was made, by the Messiah for the Christians will somewhat, work out a greater good even amid the throes of so many difficulties, that not just Christians are experiencing now, but, everyone in Nigeria. Perhaps it will bring about some good, greater good, that would make every challenge currently pale into insignificance, especially because the Christians believe that he died not just for the Christians, but he died for the world. And so we anchor our faith on that hope, but we must also do the work, Kayode, right?
Absolutely. It's been
even as we exercise faith.
Indeed. It's been a month of the Lent period, the fasting period for Christians. It will culminate, of course, in Easter Sunday, which is just in 2 days' time. Today is a public holiday. It's important to note that children are back from school. I see families coming together. So it's also a time of celebration. So while we, of course, celebrate at this time, let us fill you in on all of the big stories that you may or may not have missed. Well, yesterday, President Bola Tinubu visited Plateau State. He had planned to visit Ogun State before, but he said, you know what, I'm canceling my trip, or at least suspending that trip to Ogun State, and heading to Plateau State instead. Why? Well, the Palm Sunday killings led to the death of over 30 people in Angwarukuba, and the aftermath, the unrest, the fear, and all of those videos you may have seen online. So the president said, I'm going to Plateau State. And just around 5 p.m. yesterday, the president arrived Plateau State, and he held a meeting at the airport. He met with leaders in Plateau State, the governor, some of the leaders spoke, and the president made some promises. He also met with some of the families of the victims, especially the mother, who was clutching to her dead son. Very emotional video that broke the hearts of many. The president also met with her, spoke with her. So let's allow you to listen to what the president said, the things he promised. Then we'll sort of break it down, particularly with the reactions that are coming from Nigerians. Take a listen.
Yes. To the victim, there is nothing I can give you, whether money in billions, but console you and promise you that this experience will not repeat itself. I I thank the men and women of the armed forces, particularly the police, for what they are doing and what they are about to do. You must unearth and find the killers. We are going to install immediately a network of cameras that will help the law enforcement agencies to identify the troublemakers instantly.
That's Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu there speaking in Jos, Plateau State, at the airport. Now, as you would expect, lots of reactions are trailing the president's visit, where the meeting held at the airport. But let's talk about first what the president promised. He promised that the security forces will apprehend those responsible for these attacks. That's on the one hand. The president also promised the installation of AI-powered or AI-supported cameras, CCTV cameras, 5,000 of them. The president also fixed a meeting with leaders in Abuja when he returns, and of course he commiserated with victims and promised that it won't happen again. So lots of promises made there, speaking to the victims. So that's what the president promised. But there are other issues people are looking at, particularly where that meeting happened. Why did the president stop at the airport? Why didn't he go to the town just to see the people, to experience what the people are experiencing? Why did that meeting end at the airport? Why did the president comment about the power situation at the airport, saying you people do not have light? Is it a matter of fact, or is it a matter of indictment on his government? Bukola, that list goes on and on. And I know you're internalizing this as well as a lot of Nigerians.
Well, I'm also wondering, if the visit was an anticlimax after all, or, was a high point that now takes us to the resolution of the myriad of issues shaping the constant attacks in Jos over the last decade. Yesterday you were telling us, Kayode, that you hope that this visit will address the ethnic dimension to this, continuing conflicts, that it will hopefully address the religious dimension to this conflict, and will also address the criminality, that has shaped this conflict. But did it quite address it? We've had this conversation time and again, and rightfully so, because of how important it is. We're recording wartime numbers in terms of death when we're not at war. But some would argue that, apparently we're now at war, but we have not yet done the rightful thing to declare, a state of war against the non-state actors who want to, bring Nigeria down and overrun ancestral land that belonged to indigents. So Vice President Atiku Abubakar, perhaps that's the reason he has criticized this visit, saying that, it was a short one, held at the airport, and after this meeting there has been no clear policy direction, as to how to tackle the, if you like, banditry and senseless killings that has, shaped the insecurity challenge in Plateau State over the decade. Apart from that, would the installation of CCTV cameras address this? Now, if time and again what we have heard, not just from Plateau State now, but from, the insecurity challenge that has, shaped other parts of the country, that we know where these guys are. They have, as a matter of fact, taken over a number of villages. So why is, the response to this challenge more laid back rather than confrontational? Why is the president not ordering that the armed forces take the fight to these guys and bring them down once and for all? I read something the other day, someone was quoting how Russia, Russia's policy to killings of this nature is that God forgives, but we take them to God, we take them to him. But, the policy statement that we're hearing, even from leaders of the armed forces, is that they are prodigal sons, that they are our own, we should learn to forgive. But, that is not the entire, that's not the same approach that the non-state actors deploy, to the nature of the criminality that they perpetrate. And so we should get these guys, if not send them to prison, but also send them, to where they're sending innocent citizens as well. Kadi.
Well, it's not so much to ask for, but yes, the president's visited as a famous presidential aide, now turned philosopher by Nigerians, once said, is a glass half full or half empty? That is what Nigerians are speaking to right now, particularly the people of Plateau State. There's still a lot more on this for you on the program to help you get a better sense of how the people themselves are responding to this. We'll be speaking with leaders from Plateau State on the show. But how are the dailies reflecting on all of the big stories on this Good Friday? Well, stay with us. Mr. Dayo Akintobi joins us in a moment. We'll be right back. So let's get right into the dailies on this Good Friday. And we have joining us, as I said, Mr. Dayo Akintobi, a public affairs analyst. Good morning on a Good Friday, Mr. Akintobi.
Good morning. Happy Good Friday to all Nigerians, to all Christian faithful all over the world.
I shall talk about this dressing and the story behind it. But let's talk about the stories on the front page. We'll get to that. But, I mean, this is a good look for Good Friday.
Yes, it's a public holiday. We can take liberties today.
So we start off with New Telegraph, Mr. Akintobi. New Telegraph leads with rising insecurity. Experience won't repeat itself. Tinubu vows of just killings. Visits 22 Angwa Rukuba attack victims in Juth. Promises justice, lasting peace. Orders surveillance cameras installation to track troublemakers as gunmen kill 3, injure 2 in fresh Plateau attacks. Of course, deploys over 850 troops to Plateau to tackle menace. So the president visited. I'm not sure a lot of people expected him to visit, right? But he said, you know what, I'm going to visit. I'm not going to Ogun State anymore. But seeing him hold that meeting at the airport was sort of maybe an anticlimax for some. Some said, well, look at the glass half full, at least is in Plateau State. But, the promises made, we can talk about, whether or not he visited, but perhaps more importantly is what would happen after this. So how much of confidence do you have, seeing that the president has visited, the things that he said? How much of confidence do you have in this?
Well, I didn't hear much that could inspire one to really believe that things will change. I think the optics of his going were pretty good from the standpoint of trying to encourage the victims and also give some degree of comfort to the bereaved. But I didn't hear anything new other than deploying AI cameras, AI-enabled cameras, which could be a good thing in and of itself in terms of surveillance, even though I think that the ancillary requirements for that to be effective are still not there. In other words, the foundation to be able to have, a surveillance type system. For example, okay, so the cameras catch people doing something and they escape somewhere. How do you track them? How do you find them? How do you identify them? Is our national identification number system working well enough yet? Do we have a forensic database by which we can use to identify perpetrators of crime? So while it sounds good in terms of the rhetoric, the practicality of this idea of using surveillance still has a long way to go before it becomes effective. Now, I heard the president say this type of thing will never happen again. It's easy to say that, and we've heard it all before. What I would have preferred was to hear what exactly the administration is going to do differently that we've not done before. I mean, apart from the camera one, that's the first time I've heard something different. But it sounded like a lot of hollow promises to me that I can assure you this type of thing will never happen again. What did he use to back up that assurance? What did he tell the people that they can hang their hope on that this type of thing, especially just in the Plateau, where they seem to have been victimized over and over and over again. Plus the optics of his visit, you know, him stopping at the airport, not making the victims be brought to him, you know, he said he only had a few minutes to spend, talked about he couldn't give them money, all he could do was assure them that this kind of thing. I don't think he went far enough by way of emotional intelligence in terms of being able to assure the nation, not just the people in Jos. Because look, we can say we want to get justice, but does justice restore a life? I often wonder, what does it mean, get justice for the victimized? But justice does not restore you back to the point you were before you were victimized. So justice in and of itself is a dubious concept at the end of the day, because even if it mitigates your loss somewhat, it doesn't restore you wholly. So the only thing that the administration can really do that can restore all our losses is to curb this scourge through whatever means. I still get a sense. I mean, for example, okay, sure, the president postponed his visit to other places, but he didn't go far enough in terms of really showing a heartfelt pain that is going to galvanize true corrective measures to curb this thing once and for all. I haven't seen a sense of real shared determination on the side of the administration. There have been superficial moves, change the service chiefs here and there, change the Minister of Defense, but there's not been a wholesale, concerted, heartfelt effort to arrest this scourge.
And I'm wondering if, you know, the surveillance cameras would ever come, if they come, you know, to Jos. And this goes by other events that have happened, and the president has made certain, you know, orders, you know, for ease of victims involved, you know, and months down the line, those things, according to the victims involved, never came. But let's be optimistic again this time around. Let's head over to the Guardian newspaper, which trails something different from happenings in Plateau State. Well, as its first story, its big story, but underneath you would also see the president's visit captured. Legacy of waste. That's the top bar for its big story. Inside Nigeria's mega refineries, gulping billions, producing nothing. And you see a quote there. It is very clear that these refineries in their current state cannot deliver beyond government control. We must begin to explore alternative pathways to free Nigeria from the burden of inefficient state-owned refineries. It's not ascribed, but of course we know that the new NNPCL GMD has also spoken to this, you know, saying that they're no longer sustainable. But more importantly now, is there enough conversations holding by stakeholders and indeed the NNPCL around what to do with the refineries if they're no longer producing, Mr. Akitobi?
Yes, Mr. Ojulari, the GMD of NNPC, recently said that the thing to do is to get rid of them because they're basically just a drain pipe for the nation's resources. I wish that conclusion had been reached much earlier, before we spent billions of dollars on Port Harcourt, on Warri, on Kaduna refineries, and they've been throwing money at this thing, whether turnaround maintenance, whether changing parts and all that, and none of the refineries have produced anything. Towards the end of the last administration, I think it was worried that they said, oh, they had turned it around and it was ready to go, and they had a big, you know, extravaganza and a carnival about cutting tape, and oh, it's producing now. A week or two later, it was shut down again. So, and what is unconscionable is that what is happening to us in Nigeria today at this moment in terms of high fuel prices because of the US-Israel war against Iran. Matter of fact, let me go further back, even as far back as COVID, as far back as Russia-Ukraine, and now with this US-Israel versus Iran. We've always been buffeted by these global shocks that could have been mitigated by working local refineries. If as far back as then, they had made a conscientious effort to get these things working, but they've served as a drain pipe for many outlets. First of all, would you believe that up until today, people are still collecting salaries in those refineries for doing nothing? An entire cadre of workforce is collecting monthly pay. And it's not minimum wage. Not minimum wage, because these are engineers, these are geophysicists, these are major, yeah, of course, they've got some casual workers, drivers, cleaners, and so on, but you won't believe the payroll, how astronomical it is, and they are collecting that money on a regular basis. Now,
for doing nothing, did you say?
Absolutely nothing, because the place is overgrown with shrubs. The Guardian report is saying that when they visited in January 2026, they saw rodents and they saw lizards, and there's shrubs, and everything's overgrown. The metal is starting to rust. There's no activity. There's a few cleaners who push brooms around here and there, but nothing is happening.
So should we criminalize the latest round of turnaround maintenance? Can those involved actually say that they didn't know that this was just, a wild goose chase and it was not going to amount to anything? Can they honestly say so?
Well, the Senate invited Mele Kyari not long ago, so obviously they are doing some sort of investigation to look into all the monies that was spent over the years, and how come at this point, after all the money that's been put into it, we're not getting anything out of it. We are now talking about privatizing or selling them off after billions of dollars have been sunk into them over the years. So clearly, there's been some misappropriation of money somewhere. And that all goes back to this notion of corruption, of transparency, of issues of integrity. And I don't think it just happened with the last administration. The thing for me is, look, the president is the Minister of Petroleum, right? So the buck stops at his table. And he's supposed to be able to take a hard look at this thing and begin to ask some tough questions. He shouldn't wait until the legislature begins to look into it when it is under the president's purview. I think that he should be horrified by the fact that the new administration at the NNPCL is saying that we have to get rid of these things because they're just not practical to run any longer, in spite of all the money that we've spent on them in the past.
Well, Vanguard is next, Mr. Akintobi.
Yes.
Vanguard leads with politics. So this is what you see on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper for this Good Friday. It's about ADC. Opera greets INEC's axing of Mark Aregbesola. Whole lot of explainers on this one. I can't run through everything. It's an ambush. Nigerians should resist. Afenifere leader MBF accuses APC of destabilizing opposition. ADC blasts Tinubu, says with 90% of National Assembly, 30 governors, well 32, what are you still afraid of? Says INEC derecognition signals deeper risks of Nigeria's democracy. I should say that they're also calling for the INEC chair's resignation, and INEC has responded in quick succession. Mr. Akintobi, it's a page 5 read.
Yeah, well, it goes to show that political season is here in full force. And, I'm not surprised by this outcome, because basically that's what politics is all about. It's about decimating your opposition when they're down. Through all this, I have the ADC to blame, because it looks like, even if, according to conspiracy theories and those of us who are cynical about governance in Nigeria in general, even if the APC does have a hand in it, which I'm not saying they do, conceding without admitting, the point is the ADC itself did not put his house in order properly. Even if somebody's after you, if you've dotted the I's and crossed the T's properly, then nobody will be able to destabilize you with this type of setback. And I look at it, and the first thing that comes to my mind is, anytime you want to go to an existing party, you've got to be conscious of the fact that that party already has a structure on ground. It already has its own personnel who've been working for the party for ages, who have a lot of goodwill and equity built up in that party from ages of having been within that group. They probably were the founding members, they grew it. Look at the ADC. It had a presidential candidate in the 2023 elections. So how a group of carpetbaggers can just sashay in and assume they can just elbow out all those who had been there without sitting down with them to negotiate? The way it looks like is the David Mark and Rauf Aregbesola group talked only to the chairman of the ADC, the former chairman, a guy named Ralph Nwosu. And they came to a meeting of the minds with him. Never mind what Nigerians are saying about the inducement given to Nwosu. But the point is, they got Nwosu's buy-in, and he happily resigned and stepped aside, handed over lock, stock, and barrel, the reins of the party to these new people who thought that once they've got the chairman on their side, they are good to go. But But they didn't really realize the fact that, look, there's there's members at the ward level, EXCO and regular members, at the local government level, at the state level, at the regional level, at the national level.
And the presidential candidates, Dumebi Kachiko himself,
yes,
in 2023.
Yes.
And of course, Nafi Balagombe now, who's...
Absolutely.
They said they had a conversation with him, but perhaps...
They didn't come to an agreement, clearly, because he now constitutes a faction by himself, according to INEC.
Well, Mr. Nwosu has been speaking recently, and he said, look, this is curious that even Nafi Balagombe was at those meetings that they held with the new leadership.
Yes.
That even Nafi Balagombe was, very zealous to go marketing the new ADC to Nigerians in the north. And
so he got a better,
wonders how
he got a better offer.
Later, yeah.
He got a better offer. So it's up to the new people to have countered the better offer, and it's all about the highest bidder. So Balagombe definitely got a better offer if he was part of the original discussions. What would have made him now all of a sudden renege on his agreement to flow with these new people? But he did renege to the point that he went to court to say that, look, once Ralph Nwosu resigned, I, as the deputy, our constitution says I should have become the acting. So it means he wasn't settled well enough by the new people and he wasn't satisfied with whatever terms and conditions were offered to him. But it's really a mess, because now I'm really worried that the ADC, which seems to have been coming together to be the major opposition in light of what's happening with the PDP, it's looking like now they are emasculated, because if you look at the timeline, even though I heard their press conference, their press conference yesterday, where they said, well, INEC monitoring our convention is not a constitutional requirement, so even if they don't monitor, we can still go ahead with our convention and our primaries. They were trying to kind of, mitigate what is happening here, but I don't think they did a very good job, and I don't think it's realistic to believe that if INEC doesn't recognize your leadership, you have a snowball's chance in hell of even being on the ballot, let alone of even trying to win any election. So this is politics as usual. I've always believed that if you're in a position of power in politics, you take advantage of that, but that does not mean you do unethical things or you do illegal things. But if you're in a position of power, you deploy that power to the detriment of your opponents. So even if APC is having a hand in this, is seizing the moment to neutralize a potential opponent. Notice, can it be a coincidence that all this is happening after all of a sudden a mass exodus into the ADC from Kwankwaso, who was it before him?
Obi.
Well, no, I mean, Obi, Amechi, Atiku, Aregbesola have all been there. But this past week, there were a couple of major lawmakers.
Yes,
lawmakers.
Yes. 8 or 12.
Yes, so it suddenly looks like who's suddenly afraid of the ADC? Why all of a sudden is it a coincidence that now that they're getting more and more robust, more active? I heard that from the day Kwankwaso jumped ship, 40,000 new registrations in the ADC. So it's looking like the ADC is the party to fear in terms of an opposition. Then all of a sudden, this ruling comes down. As a famous adage says, the witch cried last night, the baby died this morning. Who does not know that it is the witch's cry of last night? Who's the witch? I'm not saying that. I'm not pointing fingers in any direction.
But Mr. Kintobi, INEC responded.
Yes.
And it's very interesting, the INEC we're seeing right now. It looks like INEC right now has some sort of bite. But wait to see if that bite will affect the ruling party, the party in power. But at least that bite is seeming to bite hard. And INEC released a statement yesterday, just moments after the ADC had their world press conference. And INEC was saying, well, first, forget about the chairman resigning. There's a constitutional process to that. And if he resigns based on what you want, that will be partisan in that sense. It will mean we're subjecting ourselves as an independent umpire to you guys, which will no more make us independent again. That's arguable. But the point I'm trying to make is this. So where does that leave the leaders in the ADC? If the ADC, at the rate it's going, becomes bad market, what options do they have? What options does opposition have? What options, call them coalition, whatever it is, opposition. But the point is we need a vibrant opposition.
Yes.
A lot of people have said the opposition we're seeing right now is people that couldn't have their way in the ruling party, yes, and are just looking for a way to get into power. Yes. Hence, they come under the umbrella of, yes, opposition. But how do we get proper, viable opposition that Nigerians can at least trust?
You have to build from the ground up. Look at Seriake Dixon. See, we're a bit indolent as a people. We take the easy way out all the time. You will go and look for an already baked cake, as opposed to starting your own from scratch. Seriake Dixon started NDC on his own.
That's the Nigerian Democratic Congress.
Absolutely.
I actually mentioned it.
Some say it's too late for the ADC to now, carry out a mass exodus into the NDC.
It's late now. Yeah, no, they can't go anywhere now. They are messed up. There's
but it sounds like the ADC just change the N and tell Nigerians that, you know what, it used to be ADC, now it's NDC.
Look, as opposed to just trying to elbow their way into an existing structure, when they joined the ADC back in 2025, why didn't they start a new party from scratch? Why did they want to take the easy way out and go into an existing structure that they didn't do any work for? They didn't. I mean, some people labored to get that party up and running, and you just waltz in and take over the reins of it and just assume that all will be fine and dandy and there will be no opposition or no repercussions. I would say that if the opposition were united and they are serious about giving the incumbent a run for his money, as of not even 2025, the moment they swore in President Tinubu's administration in 2023, they should have come together then and started to form a new party and build it up from scratch. By now, 2026, if they are starting in 2023, that party would have legs. I mean, remember, the APC did the same thing as far back as 2013-14. They started from scratch. They had vehicles they could have migrated to then, but they were astute politically and gave it the thought that it's better to start from scratch than to move into something existing and have to deal with all the fallout from the people who are already there. Right. I don't see anybody who's defected already who hasn't had an issue with those he met there. You can't just come here and think you get the ticket automatically. How about those of us that were here before? So you have a lot more work to do placating the existing structure than you would if you went to start from scratch. But we don't want to put in the work. Our way has always been, the Nigerian way has always been.
5 brigade approach, right?
Absolutely.
Mr. Akintobi, well, there's the Democratic Leadership Alliance, DLA. The ANEC literally mentioned those new parties. Absolutely. There's the NDC and there's the NDP, the National Democratic Party. Options, options, options. But we have to thank you so much. I think one thing we can agree upon is that we need a vibrant opposition in Nigeria. That's how our democracy would work. One party state or whatever they're calling it is not going to fly here. But Mr. Akintobi, we have to thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Just to mention, for full disclosure, this is your biking kit. So as soon as it leaves the studio.
This is my Nigeria kit. I am an unapologetic promoter of Nigeria.
Beautiful. I see Indie Kid.
Yes.
We know what that means.
You know what that means.
We know what that means.
And just to add that this is the youngest 60s born biker that we know on this side.
I'll tell you a secret. I've figured out how to bottle youth and energy.
Are you selling it?
No, I'm not sharing it. I'm not selling it.
We'll come for you. You hear from us. But it's been a pleasure having you.
My
Have a
pleasure
good Friday.
always. Happy
Have a
Good
good Friday.
And happy Easter to all of Nigeria and all the Christian faithful all over the world.
Thank you. Well, we'll take a moment now. And when we return, we'll talk about the essence of Good Friday. Stay with us.
Well, it's a calm and easygoing, easy Good Friday, and an ideal time to remind ourselves of the lessons of the celebration by Christians all over the world. And joining us to help us celebrate and, of course, review the lessons is Reverend Father Simon Yatiti. He's the priest with St. Matthias Military Chaplaincy in the Federal Capital Territory. Welcome, Father, to the program, and happy Good Friday to you. Father, you may need to unmute so that we can hear you, but we can see you, and we're all set, just the audio. And as we wait for you to unmute, perhaps we should get right into what appears to be, perhaps the discomforting part of the conversation around the Christian celebration. Recall that just last week, on the 29th of March, on Palm Sunday, Christians were killed. Some would argue that, that's giving it a religious coloration, but that's part of the conversation already. On a Christian celebration, there were attacks in Jos, Plateau State. And we're here reviewing the lessons of the celebration. How is it becoming increasingly difficult from where you stand for Christians to abide by the values, of the sacrifice that come with the season? And what counsel do you have for Christians at this time? Father, are you there? Can you hear me? You may need to change your listening device or adjust it so that we can have a seamless conversation. Perhaps you should unplug it. But we're yet to hear you.
Can you hear me?
All right, it's coming through now. Go ahead, Father. All right, we'll try to get through to Reverend Father Yatiti so that we can have seamless conversation. But that's, part of, the lessons, or if you like, the concerns shaping, the celebration of Good Friday, and indeed, this season, after all. And it's, not just, shaping Good Friday and perhaps Christian celebrations. Recall that, during the break of the Ramadan fast in Borno State, just days before March the 29th, which was Palm Sunday, there were attacks in Borno, and, a number of persons were killed. And so the religious part of it is an inevitable part of the conversation that we must address also, and find out whether indeed, there should be validation around concerns that, the faithful are targeted on certain parts of their celebration, and what is the entire objective, and how should the faithful also continue to, stick with the lessons of the celebration, continue to remain faithful in line with, what they're addressed as, what they're called, such that there can be peaceful coexistence. And this peaceful coexistence, a mirage amid these concerns of constant attacks, in certain parts of Nigeria, where they're saying this is evidently a systematic, massacre, or if you like, targeted killings of a certain population because of their faith. So those are part of the concerns that have shaped the conversation around this time. And so how should Christians position themselves amid all of this? Let's try to get Reverend Father Yatiti back on the show. Well, we'll try to get him subsequently.
We'll try to get him, but it's very important right now, because you can draw several similarities between what's happening right now and what played out then. First, the killing itself, Jesus was subjected to that. I mean, the same people that were meant to protect him are the same people that literally handed him over to death and oversaw that death. And we can talk about how local authorities have failed to protect the people that they are sworn to protect. The security and welfare of the people is the primary responsibility of government, right? So it's a thing that has happened time and again. But what is different then, or what was different then, is that you then had a superior authority then coming into the rescue. I call that the federal government in this case, but the point is it was not abandoned entirely by the authority. So if the authorities at the local level or in Nigeria can learn anything from this, is that, hey, you cannot abandon your people. You can never abandon your people, because that is why you are there. When these people want to campaign, they go to the most unthinkable lengths. They go to these communities. They find a way. They don't say there is no lights in the airport. They don't say, oh, my schedule is tight. Yes, we understand the president's schedule is tight, being the president that he is. But you have to understand that if you were campaigning, You would go to the city, you go to the city center, you go to the town, you drive past, you wave and all of that. Now, it's important again to be accountable to the people. If there's any important reason why you couldn't go there, then the onus is on you or your spokesperson to let the people know that, it's for this reason. Again, perhaps the reason is not strong enough, is why we're not hearing it, but it's important to be accountable to the people. We learn from other climes and see how these things go. As I said, some say it's glass half full, but the point is, why stay at half full when you can actually fill that glass? I mean, a 10-minute drive, a 20-minute visit. You're the most protected man in the country. So I think there are lots of lessons to draw from what happened then, what is happening now, and the lessons can go round. Because too many times you find that even communities themselves can do better with security, with policing, with that resolve. Take, for example, the video of the young man that we saw at the Unijust gate being beaten and left for dead. We asked the police about this, and the police said that's the police in Plateau State, that they're yet to get information about it. But you could see people driving past. You could see people, perhaps as a result of fear, or as a result of, well, it's not my business. I'm not the one being attacked. Let me face my business. But you know, the regard for human life can be way better than what it is right now. So we can talk about these lessons, and that's why we had to ask the priest to join us on the program this morning to speak to the lessons, because these days are not just observances. These days are not just days we mark, stay at home for public holidays, go to our worship centers. These days should leave a lasting impression, should really change the way we carry on with our lives.
And you talk about the authorities also, you know, having a need to learn lessons from this experience, and they're either, faithful of either of the two main religions, either Muslim or Christians, and so there are some values there, that we expect them to live by in terms of protection of the people. And so, but what do we see? It's a continuing failure by the authorities to live by these values. Is it as a result of helplessness, or as a result of lack of political will, to carry out the responsibilities for which they have, sworn an oath to carry out? And so, evidently, either way that you look at it, it's a failure. When people are being killed right in your domain, and there's very little that you can do, and it happens in a continuing manner, in a constant manner, and then there's a huge question mark on the competence and the capacity of the authorities there concerned. We can talk about the implications, but let's have someone, Kadi, that joins us now.
And we're talking local authorities now. We move on now to Plateau State, naturally, because that's where a lot of stories are coming out for, lots of concerns are coming out from, rather. And we're joined by the chairman of Jos North Local Government Area. Mr. John Christopher joins us on the program this morning. You're welcome to the program, Mr. Christopher.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Well, I wonder what the mood is like on this Good Friday after the president's visit, after the Palm Sunday attack, and then the curfew that followed, the uncertainty, the panic. Just first, tell us, what is the mood like in Jos, at least this morning?
Yeah, just this morning is calm. Everywhere is calm. Today is Good Friday. People will be observing.
We hope that the connection can respect Good Friday and be good as well. But Mr. Christopher, do we have you back?
Friday worship in the churches.
This is not a day to not be good. Speaking to the connection, that is, it's an all-important conversation. It's a very important day. But Mr. Christopher, I understand you're back.
Okay,
So
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. As I said, everywhere is calm this morning. People are going about their worship, even though the curfew is still in place till 10 a.m. I'm sure that a lot of churches will observe the Good Friday worship, but it's a devastating experience for us in Jos North local government, particularly in Angorokuba community. Last Sunday, the 29th, which is Palm Sunday, while people were rounding up their activities for the day around 7:30 p.m., it's a busy time. It's a rushed hour for people to return back home. People are doing last-minute shopping. And then we are faced with this very, very evil attack. Is a kind of attack that we've never experienced in that community as it is. But we are happy with the visit of Mr. President yesterday. Mr. President reassured us and reassured the people of Jos North and Plateau State that this would not happen again. So his message is empathetic. We are happy because Mr. President appears to be in our foot and then feel what we are feeling at the moment, and then try to come up with ideas, especially on why these things should not continue. We need to do a lot of intelligent work. What we are facing is a kind of asymmetric warfare. It's the kind of people that will sit, take their time, plan, and then execute and disappear to the thin air. It's unfortunate that these people carried out this evil act, this dastard act, and then disappear without trace. But I believe that the security agencies are doing more to be able to see how they can track these people. These people are not spirits. These people are not ghosts. They just take advantage of a little gap. By the time they see a little slack, and then they strike, and then that is what happened. And I believe that by the words of Mr. President, a lot of intelligence will be done, and then technology will also be deployed. This kind of situation, it is only technology that will be able to dictate. Imagine if we have a very good camera that will pick the footage. So whatever happens, and then you have a very good technology like drones and all that will be deployed immediately to cover certain parameter and be able to pick these people and follow them the path that they follow. It would have been a very, very good one, and these people would have been tracked. And then it's a sincere hope that this will come to an end, because our people are in pain, our people are in sorrow, our people have lost loved ones just within minutes. You are counting 20-something, over close to 30 dead bodies. Is very, very devastating for us. But I believe there is more to be done to be able to check this. And Mr. President's visit yesterday reassured us. We appreciate. And then His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Plateau State, has done a lot. He has been proactive. Immediately this happened, I received the first call. As at the time I received the call, there was hearing gunshot at the background. So immediately we reached out to the security agencies, we reached out to the appropriate authority, including His Excellency, and a lot of security were deployed. And then we know the kind of communities we live. Our fear is there are people that will take advantage of this and try to make it look as if it's a religious war. We are not fighting a religious war. We are not fighting a communal clash. It is not a communal clash. It is not a religious conflict. It is an attack. It's a terror attack on the people of Angorokuba and Jos North local government. So we need to say it as it is, and then we need to fight it together with the appropriate authorities.
So we're going to stay a bit with the president's visit, right? Two things I'd like you to speak to. Are you content? Are you satisfied? Are you happy with the way that visit unfolded? The president coming to the airport, holding that meeting, meeting the victims there, and then that was it, which is different from what a lot of people expected, that the president would at least go around town, see for himself what you are experiencing, walk in your shoes, as you said. That's on the one hand. Secondly, why didn't that happen? Because I know you're at that level where you're able to have that information. Why didn't the president do that?
You see, the president's visit, we're happy with the president's visit, and we're very, very comfortable with it. As far as I am concerned, and we are concerned in Jos North and Plateau State, earlier, before the president's visit, the Chief of Army Staff was on ground together with the GOC and then the commander of the task force in Jos. They went around the community. I was with them. I was with the Chief of Army Staff. He trekked through the epicenter of the crisis. He trekked through from the area, from Angor-Kuba, he walked through to Nasarawa, which is the major areas where this happens. And then before that, the IG also was on ground. He also went around the town. These are people that are service chiefs, and then they are working closely with Mr. President. So for them to have come earlier and go around the town is I think is good enough for us to have the president, even at the airport, because they are the people that will brief him. They are the people that would, even if the president has gone down around the town, he will still rely on the security agencies, the service chiefs, and probably the authorities on ground to also brief him. So what we briefed him at the airport, what His Excellency briefed him at the airport, is the same thing, is the same kind of briefing he would have received even if he has gone downtown. And we know he had a very, very tight schedule yesterday. So we are happy because we're able to come with the victims, the families of victims that people lost their lives, and then the president speak to them empathically. He was so passionate. He consoled them directly. So I feel he has enough brief for where it is. There are areas that he doesn't even come down to the states, but for him to have even touched down in Jos, I think is a good one, and for him to have spoken to the families of the victims directly, it shows a lot of empathy on the president's side, and we appreciate that. And then the message is for the service chiefs, the message is for the security agencies on ground to do the needful, to deploy a lot of technology, to have more intelligence on what these people are doing. And then with that, we're able to check this situation. The president going to town alone may not even make any difference, because the most important thing is for the security agencies to be on top of their game.
You say that the deployment of surveillance cameras would go a long way to tackling this insecurity challenge, but did Plateau State need to wait for Mr. President to make that order before it takes the initiative by itself? We understand that state governors are getting increased allocation. Many Nigerians have CCTV cameras in their homes. They may not need to necessarily deploy the most expensive type of CCTV footage. So my question is, could Plateau State not have taken this initiative by itself?
Yes, we have quite a number of them. We have some CCTV camera around some locations in Jos, and it has been so very, very helpful. But it's not everywhere. We must admit that it is not everywhere. And that is why we are seeing the initiative by the president through the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy as a welcome development, because they have made a commitment to deploy it almost everywhere. And he has said it that they have deployed the technology in Lagos, they have also deployed the technology in Enugu, and then some other places.
Let's stay with Plateau State. Mr. Christopher, in which parts of Plateau State do you have this CCTV that are already available? Which local government areas? We have even within Jos North, we have one around Hill Station Junction. We have one around Terminus, which are also good. We have one around Amadou Bellowe. We have a very few, and then they are also very, very effective. Okay.
And then we have also, yes, sir, we have about 3 that I know that are working very, very effectively around the city center. You say you have some in Jos North, and so if those who attacked innocent citizens in Jos North local government area on Palm Sunday were passing through or escaping through those areas, well, we don't have CCTV evidence to, at least give an indication of the identity of these attackers. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, even if CCTV footage were deployed, it appears there's a seeming gap as a result of inadequate manpower, either from the police or from the armed forces, to protect the citizens. So what help would CCTV footage provide if there are no officers to deter the attackers? Yes, what CCTV camera would have done is to be able to give us the footage of these attackers. It's unfortunate that this particular community that this attack happened, we do not have the CCTV camera at the moment. But even before the visit of Mr. President, conversation has been around there that, okay, now we need to also come in and see how we can also deploy this to see what we can do. But the community itself need to do more. I agree. The community has been up and doing. We have local vigilantes that have been watching, that have been there. Just as I said, they took advantage of a little gap on a Sunday. You know, sometimes you tend to relax and then drop a little gap on Sundays, and then that is why I believe it has been well planned, well orchestrated to be able to execute that. If not, the community has been up and doing. There is a vigilante group that from time to time they check and then they ask people to, we know the kind of people that are going around our community and all that. But then with this, we have it has given us a reason to be able to see that the community vigilante is not something that you do for some time and then relax for some time. They said the price of peace is eternal vigilance. We have to also be up and doing as a community. The community vigilante will now know that our activities should be 24/7, not even on Sundays. You don't have to relax. That is Sunday, you are not expecting anything. So it's an eye-opener for us to do more, though it comes through a very, very painful experience.
All right, Mr. Christopher, so I want us to talk about the operationalization of the 5,000 AI-enabled CCTV infrastructure, because it's very important, it's very vital, and I think it's something that should be replicated across board. But I think Plateau will present a very good test case, right? So I want us to walk through the infrastructure you have on ground, because it's a nice to hear 5,000 AI-enabled CCTV cameras, we're going to install it. But it's not just about the cameras. There's a lot of infrastructure that will power it. The very first is, does Plateau State have reliable internet? I'm talking either 5G or fiber optics.
Yes. Yeah, it's been deployed. Yes, it's been deployed.
Which of them, 5G or fiber?
Yeah, fiber optic.
Do you have 5G in Plateau?
No, we have fiber optic. It's been deployed around the states at the moment.
Do you have an idea of the coverage, at least in your local government, fiber?
Yes, my local government is being covered. It has covered part of Jos South. It has covered part of Barkiladi. It's currently ongoing in Jos North, and then it's to go around the entire states.
So, power. Even the president himself said there is no power, there's no light at the airport. How reliable is power, electricity in Plateau State? This is not an indictment. It's for us to know where we're at and what we need to do. So if you were to scale, give it a rating, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how reliable is power?
Electricity has been stable on the plateau. It has been stable in Jos. In a scale of 1 to 10, I can say 7%.
7 over 10. Oh, wow.
Yes, 7 over 10.
So what you also need for AI-enabled CCTVs, server, all the data has to be running through, you know, very powerful computers. You have to store that data. You have to analyze that data. So what's the IT infrastructure like? Do you have data centers in Plateau State?
Yes, we have a data center. Just as I told you, we have some other cameras that are up, and those cameras have a data center that is storing a lot of information. In fact, you can get information as far back as 2 years ago. You can even get it from that data. But with this deployment, I think more would need to be done. It will come as part of the components for the AI-enabled CCTV camera. It will come with a database. But we have a data camera that I'm sure there is a way that it can be connected to that main server that we have now at the moment in the state. The state government has a server that those cameras are also capturing, that you can get information as far back as 2 years.
So the question then is, if this is working, how has it helped to at least prevent attacks? Did you capture some of these attackers on the current CCTV that you have in the state? That's the question Bukola asked. Because that's how we know if these things work.
No, it did not. Yes, it did not, because, as I said, unfortunately, this community is not captured. The current camera did not capture this community. It's far from this community, the Angora community that was attacked.
All right, let's go back to the challenge of manpower, and I wonder if these discussions were had with Mr. President during the visit yesterday, because if we quote the latest attacks that we've seen in Jos in the last 2 years, there are quite a number of deaths that have been recorded. So there's evidently a gap in terms of response of security agencies to rescue and deter attackers. So what is your estimation in terms of the need that Jos and the local government areas, other local government areas need for protection? And was that conversation had yesterday with Mr. President, perhaps in terms of a proposal by the governor of the state?
Yes, I think a lot has been discussed as far as this is concerned. And then with this, I believe more deployment will be made. The president has approved a lot of deployments that will come. And then I believe it will also go a long way in helping the troops that are on ground. Of the truth, there is also shortage of manpower, and then what we have on ground is they are overstretched as it is. But with Mr. President visits, and then with the governors also visit to Mr. President, I believe he has a very good conversation with the president, and is going to deploy. There are going to be an additional deployment as far as this is concerned, so that it will go a long way in tackling what we are facing at the moment.
And so while we wait for that deployment, what options are open to the people in terms of protection and to your vigilante as well?
Yes, we have to restructure the vigilante. For us in Jos North local government, we have what we call a joint task force of non-conventional security outfits. We have pulled together all the vigilante groups, the neighborhood watch, the forest guard, and then all those that are working within the local government to form a joint task force. And then they are almost like the first response for us in terms of any disturbance within the local government. We reach out to them immediately. They will come in. And then where there is a need for them to reach out to the conventional security outfits, that is the police, the civil defense, and all that, they call them. But we need to also increase their number. We need to also give them more of the resources they need in terms of their activity. And that will help us greatly.
Well, we have to wind down now, but quickly, let us know who attacked your people, Mr. Christopher, on Palm Sunday.
Sir?
Who attacked your people on Palm Sunday?
Evil terrorists that do not want to see the good of Jos North and Plateau State. We don't know them at the moment. The security people are working hard to unravel. But what we know is that these people are not happy with the growth of Jos North. They are not happy with the stability in Jos North. They are not happy with the kind of peace and unity we are having now in the local government. Because as a result of peace and unity that we have, a lot of businesses are growing, a lot of commercial activities are coming up.
So are you saying that
yes, sir,
almost a week after this attack, we don't have the identity of those who killed your people? Mr. Christopher, can you hear me? Oh, there goes the internet yet again. Mr. Christopher, we have to anchor at this point, but it's important, at least for the people to have closure and to get justice, to know who these people are. Perhaps you know, but I don't know for what reason, but it's important to have that sense of who is responsible. But the internet will not allow us to have this conversation. We hope that that internet would improve for the AI-enabled CCTV cameras that will be deployed or expected to be deployed in Plateau State. We've been speaking with Mr. John. Are you back, Mr. Christopher? Okay, he's not back. Mr. John Christopher, as a chairman, Just North local government area, has been speaking about the visit of the president, the aftermath, what is expected. We thank you for your time, and of course, we'll get back to you to get more insight. We'll take a moment now. When we return, we'll quickly take the conversation around the essence of this season. Then we'll switch gears to politics, ADC, in a moment. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, time to talk politics. And of course, we'll be looking at the challenge currently bedeviling the African Democratic Congress following INEC's decision to discontinue recognition of the David Mark-led group and, of course, the Nafiu Bala Gombe group of the party following the Court of Appeal decision. We saw the press briefing addressed yesterday by the national chairman of the Mark Group, Senator David Mark, and some of the resolutions that have come through is a call for the resignation of the INEC chairman. Of course, INEC has reacted to that, and amongst other things, that the party will continue its congresses. So joining us now is Mr. Tanko Yunusa. He's the national coordinator, the Obedient Movement. He's right there in our Abuja studio. Mr. Tanko, good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning. Happy Easter to everyone.
And a happy Easter to you too. Now, time is of the essence, apparently, against the backdrop of the new Electoral Act. The decision expressed by the David Mark-led group to go ahead with party activities regardless does not particularly, give a clear direction about whether or not the ADC would be on the ballot come 2027. So what more realistic options will the ADC be exploring besides pursuing this at the court to ensure that a decision is turned in its favor before the electoral timeline?
Thank you very much for the question. I think the whole thing still stopped on INEC's table. Whether INEC has been been manipulated through the back door using a string to control its own their intention, should quickly retract that particular step as quickly as possible. And I say this as a patriotic citizen. We have an election coming up very soon in 2027. These processes of the elections have a kind of a timeline, and the timeline has already been established, except, of course, for those who do not want us to have an election. And if you do not want us to have an election, what you are already channeling is a chaotic situation for Nigeria. And I can tell you that Nigerians will not accept it. I'm not talking about the ADC now in particular. I'm talking about Nigerians in general, because it is already clear that even if you go to the court, it is already been pre-arranged. You go to the court and they justify the reason why the ADC will not run or put people to run for election. And that is done already against already the PDP and other political. The Labour Party is a victim already, been choreographed in such a way. So going to court is not the solution. It's going back to INEC. It's not too late for INEC to retract its step as quickly as possible for the interest of the country and the people that it's already been stigmatized and been choreographed, been denied, been insulted, been intimidated. And if the people are intimidated and then they are being forced to turn back, the government itself may not be comfortable in sitting on that particular seat. I'm not making a threat, I'm just giving you a fact of reality. So it is better for INEC within the next 24 hours, even earlier than that, for them to quickly retract the step. That is the only way so that we can have an election. At the end of it, a credible election will bring in credible leaders and credible governance. That is the best way. And I'm using this opportunity to call on the security operative to really quickly get into this matter.
Amen to that. And so many have been saying that, look, this is the hand of Jacob, but the voice of, the hand of Esau. That's quite confusing. But the voice of Jacob. So let's find out if that is the case. After the break, you don't want to miss it. Stay with us.
You're welcome back to the program. Well, the ADC has time and again pointed accusing fingers at the ruling APC and the government in power, even INEC. So it's important to get a sense of how the APC is responding to this. We had Mr. Bayo Nanuga also speak to this, spokesperson of the president. But we have joining us on the program, Commissioner for Information Edo State, also member of the APC, Mr. Kasim Afegbua, is live with us from our Abuja studio. You're welcome to the program, Mr. Afegbua.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, as a strong proponent of democracy, I imagine you're watching all that is playing out in the opposition. Does this give you joy? What is playing out in the ADC particularly now, Mr. Afegbua?
Does what? I didn't get your point.
Does this give you joy, seeing what is playing out in the ADC, INEC's pronouncement saying we're not going to recognize either David Mark's group or Nafiu Bala Gombe's group, and the ADC's response? As a member of the APC, I should say proponent of democracy, are you happy to see this happen?
Well, thank you very much. I don't think I'm here to validate or invalidate what's happening in the ADC. We are more interested in what goes on within the APC to deepen our conversation around governance and politics. The ADC shot itself in the foot when it was not able to properly take over a political party. Ab initio, they told us that they were building a coalition. They waited months on end, and they ended up, taking over a party. The process of taking over a party are well spelled out. If you say somebody resigned, somebody did not resign, one individual does not equate, the length and breadth of a political party. I have been part of a parcel of party registration before now. In 2002, we registered National Democratic Party. I was the foundation National Publicity Secretary. From there, I became the National Director General of the headquarters. When you are taking over a party, every gamut, all the organs of the party, every member must concur to the position being taken. Not the one that the chairman will say he's resigning and is handing over to David Mark. Ralph Nwosu is no longer the chairman, he's handing over to the or deputy chairman is resigning and all that. If he resigns, he's still a member of the party. So I think ADC chieftains, who are aggrieved PDP members, did not take due diligence of the processes of taking over a party. If a party is merging, for example, there are criteria, there are conditions for me a merger, just like we did in APC. But this is what they said, they are building a coalition. We are not seeing the coalition. So they didn't take over that party properly. And from day one, it was stated that Ralph Nwosu had ceased to be the chairman of that party in 2022. There was a court verdict to that extent. So if he was, outlawed, so to speak, in 2022, and in 2025, they are still rigmaroling under Nwosu, then a lot of questions need to be asked. Well, don't forget that since the formation of African Democratic Congress, ADC, in 2007, thereabout, Ralph Nwosu has been the chairman up to 2022.
Mr. Nwosu, pardon me, Mr. Afegbua, forgive me, I've heard a lot of that name. I mean, on the one hand, you say you're not here to validate what's happening in the ADC, and you go ahead to walk through it and invalidate the process, Mr. Afegbua. But here's my question. What is the APC afraid of? Because that's the question they have asked time and again. You have majority of the governors in your party. You have majority of the lawmakers in your party. You have the federal might. So what are you scared of? Is the ADC really that much of a threat to the APC?
If you are asking this question, it means you are buying the very lazy position and opinion of the ADC chieftains, who, rather than look inward to resolve all the differences within the rank and file of the ADC, are pointing accusing fingers to the APC that is busy consolidating his grip on the, on the politics of the country. We are not saying we are a ruling party and we sat back without doing nothing. We are a ruling party and we are reaching out to more Nigerians to get enlisted into the APC. We are doing membership registration. We are doing quite a number of things. So if you're asking this question, it means that you're also buying that very lazy, blame game of the ADC. They should sit back and address the internal wranglings within his file. The same characteristics, the same behavioral pattern that took them away from PDP, Labour Party, all fractured, is the same thing that is coming to play in ADC, and they will always blame the APC. We are not afraid of anything. We are not afraid of strange bedfellows that are morphing together under the ADC, unable to articulate a consolidated front to contend with the issues of 2027. We are saying that, for God's sake, do the proper thing first before you begin to play game. The courts, we don't own the courts. The courts are the court's position is very clear. Follow the court, follow the due process and all that. They said status quo ante bellum. You raised the point with Tanko Yunusa just now and all that. They were vacillating. They can't even situate which one is the status quo ante bellum. They couldn't state it. And it is very simple that you maintain the existing position before the war or the dispute. That's a simple thing. The Latin word, there is not too much, ancillary meaning to that. But they will begin to rotate on the same axis and they want to make progress. It won't augur well for them. As an opposition party, which is an integral part of democracy, we welcome them to take us on. Look at PDP, it's embroiled in crisis. The same actors who are in ADC are the same actors in PDP that caused the whole crisis of PDP. Rather than sit back to address all the internal wranglings and create or deliver on credible leadership and mediatory skills, they ran away from the windows, from the doors, and escaped to another party called the ADC. Coming to the ADC now, they are still showcasing the same characteristics of not being able, to constructively engage, collectively bargain, and arrive at positions that will be healthy for Nigerian democracy. Labour Party embroiled in crisis, Peter Obi ran away through the window, and here we are today. NNPP in crisis, Kwankwaso couldn't sit back to address the issue, he ran away. So when you have people who are quarrelsome in their different political parties, massing together and under another political party, they will continue to quarrel.
Well, Mr. Fegwa, some would argue that the hand of the APC, the ruling party, cannot be removed from the disarray in some of these political parties. Well, we could mention some of them, Labour Party, and especially the People's Democratic Party, where a key member has come out to tell the entire country that, Mr. Nyesom Wike confessed to him or said to him in a private meeting that he promised to hold the PDP for Mr. President. And so even though that has been contended, we have some evidence that cannot be controverted in how he works assiduously for the victory of the ruling party in certain elections. For instance, the area council elections in the federal capital. If you debate that, let's look at other areas that I wonder whether you would debate or not. With the entry of Alhaji Rabi Musa Kwankwaso into the ADC, that's bringing Kano, that has the swing vote in every election, into the fray. Of course, Mr. Peter Obi, some would say debatably, some would say no, commands quite some influence in many regions of the country. And added to that is the former governor of Kaduna State, who worked, by the way, assiduously for Mr. President in Kaduna State. And some would say his contributions to Mr. President's victory in 2023 is undeniable. So do you deny that with these men in the ADC, they would give the APC a run for its money were they on the ballot in 2027?
I listened to your chronicle, and what I could just, my instant response would just be to laugh over some of the assumptions that people make about politics. You see, I find it very curious that people who can't hold forth their own political party and resolve internal wranglings and all of that, they will now morph together under an ADC party, and they are now going to be the threat, if I use your word, to APC. If Jason Wike, an individual, according to you, that somebody confessed that Jason Wike told the president told him that he should hold down the PDP. If one individual can hold down the entire PDP that we know of, then that individual must be a semi-god. But let us face the crucial issues. One they have influence in Kano. For the elections of 2023, we were able to put up a very strong front, and we defeated the PDP over there, even though the NNPP, defeated us because Kwankwaso was on the ballot. But aside from that, the El-Rufai you mentioned, 3 senators from Kaduna State under El-Rufai were under the platform of PDP. They won election under the platform of PDP. They defeated El-Rufai. We couldn't return any 3 senators from that place. And so when people want to showcase their might and their strength politically, they should please look at the figures. And what were the figures we got from Kaduna? The difference between us and PDP, very, very minimal. So, but the point I'm making is this. People keep talking about, oh, Nigerian people, Nigerian people. Who has more Nigerian people? 31 governors, over 70 senators, and over 200 and something House of Rep members and plus state houses of assembly. They have constituents who they relate to, who voted them ab initio. So they will naturally be at the pivotal point than those who are just coming to the fray and they are not able to articulate a common ground for their own politicking. So as far as the APC is concerned, we are not afraid. We are interested in constructive opposition, not destructive one. We don't want blame game. We want you to do the proper thing. If you have done the proper thing and you now blame us for your halitosis, then I will say maybe you have a point. But you are doing the wrong thing in the eyes of the law as decreed by the court, and you are blaming the APC. What is the business of APC with all your halitosis, all your crises, internal wranglings? The same reason why you bolted away from the parties you belong to ab initio. Some of those persons belonged to APC before. Some of them they destroyed the PDP. They destroyed the Labour Party. They have now underwhelmed the NNPP. So we are not afraid at all. We are saying that they are operating at the peculiarity of their behavior and characteristics. They are known to be quarrelsome, strange bedfellows who cannot sit back and resolve issues internally or except for them to escape. This is not the first time Atiku is escaping from PDP. It's not the first time Peter Obi is escaping from party. He left APGA to Labour Party to PDP, PDP back to ADC now. So the point must be made clearly that we are not afraid. We are ready for the elections. We are building our strength. We are mobilizing people to do more membership registration and all of that. And in the final analysis, we'll be happy to appeal to Nigerians to give us a second term because the power algorithm of the country is such that power should retain it enough for 8 years. It should come to the South for another 8 years. And we are in the first leg of that 8 years. And we must complete our 8 years.
Another question that the opposition is asking is, if this government has performed, then it has nothing to be afraid of. But all of the indices are there for non-performance, either it's security or the economy. Look at the price that Nigerians are buying petrol for against the backdrop of the conflict in the Middle East, and the administration is saying absolutely nothing about it. So in the light of the circumstances, why should Nigerians vote for the current administration in 2027, given all of these indicators?
Okay, now let me refer to your position. If you say a party has not performed and that we're afraid of going into election, you have to also tell me as an opposition, what are your alternative ideas viewpoints with respect to the policies that we have put in place, for which we are thinking that, the gains will come to bear. You don't just criticize a ruling party for the sake of criticism. You have to tell us if you don't want to do a naira floating, tell us what is your alternative. If you don't want to do NER fund, that is giving scholarship to students, tertiary students, and others, if you don't want to continue that policy, tell us what is your alternative. If you don't want to, if you say we have removed subsidy, for example, tell us if you are returning subsidy or what is best in the present circumstance. I'm happy that you refer to the Middle East crisis as the rationale for this pump price increase. Well, we are hoping that they resolve that easily. But even in this area of security, the opposition has not told us what they would do differently that will make Nigerians to even look in their direction. Nobody can challenge President Tinubu of not taking a decisive role thus far with respect to combating insecurity. It has become an existential threat to our democracy and to our country as a whole. We are worried about that. The president is worried. Everybody is worried. And we are doing all within our powers to ensure that we are able to nip this in the bud. But opposition will let make noise. Oh, they have killed 10 people. They have killed 5 people. What is that thing that you will do differently that this present government is not doing? That should be the cutting edge. Not just noise making, not just shouting on top of their voices in the name of opposition.
Well, Mr. Fegwa, we have to anchor at this point. Thank you for your time. The opposition has said time and again that the coming election will be the APC versus Nigerians. Mr. Kasim Afegwa.
No, it will be APC. It will be APC versus ADC and PDP and Labour Party and NNPP.
You say that with so much joy.
About 18 political parties.
You say that with so much joy, yes. Mr. Afegwa. I'm very suspicious. And I remember the president saying that he's happy with what's happening in the opposition.
They are too much in a hurry.
Well, as I said,
they are too much in a hurry.
It's very suspicious that you're smiling, Mr. Afegwa, because the president said he has pleasure in what's happening, or he takes pleasure in the disarray. That he can't help them fix it. But Mr. Kasim Afegwa, we have to thank you so much.
Of course.
Commissioner for Information.
When your opponent is quarreling, you'll be smiling now.
But we need a viable opposition.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Wish you the very best. Well, there you go. That's been the show for today, Bukola. Our Good Friday edition. Here's hoping that you have a great day celebrating Good Friday here and wherever you may be. I'm Kayode Okikelu. And
play your part to keep the peace and have a Good Friday. We'll be back again on Monday. Sunrise Daily is up next. I am Bukola Koka.
Goodbye.